So I just wanted you to introduce yourself and how long you've been with Huber and Suhner and what kind of roles you've worked your way up through within the organization.
Great, thanks, Paul. So I'm with Huber Suhner since 25 years. Half of my career is spent in several different research and development management functions for RF and microwave solutions. And the second half of my career, I've really focused on technical customer support, all the way to leading the global aerospace market management from business development and strategy point of view. And I'm focusing on the space market in particular for the last 8 years. So I have a pretty good idea about the systems used, market trends, and obviously about our internal capabilities and our global sales network to support our customers as good as possible.
Mm-hmm. And is this from actual like payload side of things and the ground stations?
So that on my end, it covers really everything. So payloads, satellites, launch systems, such as the SpaceX Falcon 9, to manned missions such as the Crew Dragon, all the way to satellite communication systems. I'm in charge as well for our civil aviation market, and we're pretty strong there in cabling, but as well in satellite communication terminal, such as Viasat terminals, as example, we support with connectivity solutions.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned that it's part of your job to kind of have a finger on the pulse of what applications are trending and what are you seeing in the markets right now that is a consistent theme within your customer base and what they're actually needing from an RF microwave interconnect solution to meet the product needs. So in other words, what's the problem and what's our solution?
I mean, we definitely see two trends. I mean, one is really COTS items, so commercial off-the-shelf items. However, our customers still want to have a certain risk mitigation, so they want to know that the materials have been used in space. Best case, the product we're selling them has a long space heritage. And when it comes to COTS items specifically for larger LEO constellations, we're offering our space product with reduced qualification and screening. And the reason why we can do that really is because we have a very broad range of solderless cable solutions. That's our mini-band product line. Because we don't use any solder, we don't need to X-ray these cable assemblies. And just by reducing and removing the X-ray test, we can save the customer about $150 per cable assembly. So we can get very close to a commercial off-the-shelf product with full space qualification and heritage. So that's one of the trends, and within this area, we certainly see increased frequencies. So we're covering Q and V band by now for space flight applications. We have specifically developed a line of highly flexible, highly shielded products for these applications. We added 5 metallic shields to the cable to shield it electrically, but also to shield it from radiation. So this line offers an industry-leading 200 megarad radiation resistance, which is specifically important for smaller satellites with less protection, and these small PTFE-based cables can break down under radiation rather quickly. That's why we added 5 metallic shields to really shield it properly, and a highly radiation-resistant jacket on top of it. So that's one of the trends we see: this high frequency, high radiation, and higher power applications.
So the basic gist is we're seeing now that the space industry has kind of developed and the technology has kept up with it. We're seeing these products that have decades of heritage to this point. So maybe it's the the manufacturers of the payloads are having a little bit more faith that guys like Huber and Suhner know what they're doing. So they don't need to do full qual space every single time, especially with these CubeSats where we're sending up 2,000-3,000 satellites at a time. If there's one or two failures, it's not the end of the world compared to these giant comms like satellites that have thousands of cables on it at one time.
Yeah, I think it's a three-pronged approach. I mean, yes, we're able to provide them clear, written, custom-tailored qualification and screening procedures. The other thing is cost. Obviously, if you're shooting up thousands of satellites, you have to keep your costs down. And we're able to do that by reducing qualification and screening requirements. And the last point is really lead times. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have to purchase 100,000+ spaceflight cable assemblies, you can't wait 12 to 14, 16 weeks per cable assembly. So they're reducing screening procedures to a bare minimum, and basically rely on spot checks, which is basically a method which is used since decades in the automotive industry. That really helps us to speed up our production process and to shorten lead times. So it's really a hand in hand with the customer. It always has to be a discussion, and most importantly, the customer has to feel comfortable to use it, and as well has to have some certain documentation from our end to really to document the risk mitigation activities they have undertaken.
Especially when cables are most likely the last part of the puzzle to be pieced together, right? They don't really know their cable lengths until last minute usually, and then if your lead times are pushing over 16 weeks for a Hi-Rel cable assembly, then you're going to be holding up the whole entire project. So that could cause issues from a standpoint of like holding the whole launch up. So that's something that when you come in and we have the solderless solution with our minibend family that has no need for X-rays. That does save time and money, allowing us to deliver ahead of schedule and basically not being the whole temple to hold the whole project up. Because if the launch gets delayed, these companies lose a lot of money, right?
Yes, absolutely. And there's nothing worse than when you install something and then you have to find out why your system isn't working. And after you found out why, then you have to rip it apart and put it together again. So that's certainly a no-go for us. And luckily, within our 38 years of space flight heritage, we had not one single case where our products failed. So we really have a long heritage, and therefore we feel very comfortable in recommending certain procedures to customers to shorten the lead time and the cost. But it always depends on the mission. So traditional space, if you build a big geosatellites, that satellite has to work for 25 years, you certainly want to take a different measure. And there it certainly makes sense to invest into full-blown qualification and screening procedures. So it's a double-edged sword, and as you said, the space industry has turned into a big industry and into an affordable industry where customers can afford to invest into a test satellite to test the satellite-based services. And those missions, they last maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. So from that point of view, you can obviously take bigger risks and go with the let's say an off-the-shelf approach compared to a 25-year-long mission with $500 million.
Yeah.
So that's why we focus on both parts of the markets, and we're really great believer that qualification and screening, they have a place, and there is a need for it. But you have to understand when to go full blown, or when you want to reduce it slightly.
Yeah. So I just want to switch gears a little bit and kind of talk about what our differentiators are. You already kind of touched on the solderless connection of the mini bend. I feel like that is the backbone of our differentiators with our mini bend family. Do you just want to go through real quick and talk about the different sizes we have, the different features we have, and possibly what applications they excel in, like what, like in the box, or like lower loss, or even phase invariant cables? Maybe touch on those a little bit and give people listening a little bit of an idea of where they will fit in projects and where they save money, lead times. And then we can get into possibly about our unique connectors we have that go with them.
So first of all, what makes Huber Suhner unique is that we are developing and manufacturing cables and connector solutions. So we're not, some companies focus on the cabling and then they purchase connectors, or the other way around. In our case, since more than 50 years, our core competence is connectivity and cabling. So all our cable assembly systems, they're developed from the ground up in harmony, and therefore we can offer best possible performance because they perfectly match. And one of our core competences is certainly materials. So we develop our own compounds and materials, and that's why we have been able to come up with application-specific cable assemblies and technologies. One of them is our phase-stable cable assembly line, and we have basically replaced PTFE, which has an inherent big phase change around room temperature. And we've been able to develop a compound which allows us to foam PTFE-free material, which allows us to achieve the same insertion loss as PTFE, but with a completely linear phase stability over temperature. This is specifically important for satellite applications as soon as you work with phased array antennas, or when you go into digital signals, really high throughput, high bandwidth digital signals, where electrical phase change is distorting your signal quality at the end of the day. So that's one range of the area. Then the other one I already mentioned before, highly shielded, high radiation resisted cables. And the third line is really our low loss line. So those cables consist of low loss PTFE electric holes, and with specific outer construction, which allows us to offer best-in-class insertion loss. So for longer runs, those lines are preferred. The solderless solutions, as you mentioned, our mini-bend product portfolio is centered around 3 sizes. So it's the 047, 086, and 141 inch equivalent size. And for all 3 dimensions, we can offer all these kind of different tailored cable subfamilies. So no matter what application or what challenge the customer is facing, we have a cable in our portfolio with 30 plus years of flight heritage. And that goes together with specific connectors. We have developed self-locking SMP connectors as example, to make sure to be able to use a push-on or push-pull connector, but it doesn't pull off anymore, so it's locked. We have also developed the smallest threaded spaceflight connector. It's based on an SMPM GPPO interface with a very low profile nut to talk these down. So really addressing the trends from a miniaturization point of view, not only with the cable and 10 baling radii, no, we're also taking it a step further and offer tailored space qualified connector solutions with it.
Yeah, and the SMP ESL, the self-locking, and the SMPMT, the threaded SMPM, those two really help, anti-vibration standpoint, and just how much vibration there's on a launch vehicle, and you just don't want like a smooth bore connector disconnecting at launch, or even, and if you misalign a full detent connector, then you could have misalignment issues and insertion loss, VisWar, anything that could really go wrong with your electrical performance. So this will allow for a faithful mate and demate 100% of the time, because you have, so yeah, so these things definitely play a crucial role in the manufacturing standpoint. And even rapid prototyping, if you from a standpoint of people being on the bench and they want to make sure they're messing around with their board layout, and they want to see if the cable needs to be a certain length, and you put in a full detent SMP, you're not going to be able to get that thing off. Once it's on, you're kind of in, and then you're going to basically determinate the cable if you try and pull it out. So that's where the SMP self-locking comes into play, and that's a fantastic tool, and that is up to 40 gigahertz, correct?
That's correct, and we also eliminated the risk of unintentional demating. Let's say if you install the cable and maybe pull on the cable, you demate the connector. So that's not possible, completely eliminated by design. And we've also added color band, which allows you to use pictures as example to document it. You have properly made the connector. So we tried all the way through the manufacturing process to eliminate wasting time, honestly. Really, from controlling and protocoling the installation all the way to the installation. So
it's a beautiful thing that you get these unique connectors on a high performance solderless cable, which will allow you to eliminate a right angle connector, which historically are heavier and more costly. So you can bend the end of this cable, and you're saving money, you're saving time, and you're getting better electrical performance out of it. It seems like it's a great solution for a high performance, vast amount of heritage in space cable assembly. Even on top of that, you can even, from a unique standpoint, for our connectors, we have something even for high power solutions for the PSM. So do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yes, as I mentioned before, the second trend beside miniaturization and high frequency is really less cables and higher performing cables, and that's specifically related to high power. So less channels but higher power. So that's very challenging from a cable point of view, but even more challenging when it comes to the connector design. So the connector interface and the interface between the connector and the cable. Industry standard are TNC connectors. They're rather big and bulky, old military designs, which provide the highest power handling capability. The problem is that very often customers have to switch from a small SMA connector to a TNC just because of a couple watts. So they don't really need the TNC power handling, but there's nothing else out there.
And the power handling goes down, with the higher altitude multi-paction. And so you got to go from an SMA to TNC probably a lot more often than you would have to normally for a space application.
Correct, and that's why we partnered with European Space Agency many years ago, and brainstormed what would be needed in the future. And that was what they really brought up, was like an SMA size connector with the power handling of a TNC. So that was that big wish, and we tried to turn this dream into reality. And about 3 years ago, we've been able to accomplish that. We have developed a specific interface. It's SMA size, but it's specifically designed to withstand maltapation and corona, and to be able to achieve the TNC power handling. We have qualified, again, the cable assembly. So not just the connector of the cable, we've qualified the complete system according the ESA standards, and as well MIL-PRF 39012. So it's fully space qualified. We have funded the whole campaign ourselves, so we can provide our customers with all test results, qualification reports, in case they're interested to use it. And so far we have received great interest from big primes, which are able and willing to design in a new interface.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're solving size, weight, and power in one connector, which is, and anytime you can reduce weight on a launch vehicle, that's just that's a big win.
Yeah, it's half the size. It's less than half the weight, and even more importantly, if you have to couple a couple next to each other, we can significantly reduce the center line to center line pitch distance, which allows our customers to build a lot smaller units, and that's where the big weight saving really is. It's not just weight saving per connector; it's the weight saving of the ability to design a
smaller solutions
system.
And taking that from more of a high power cable assembly, we also supply a extremely high density solution in our multi-coax options. Could you go into a little bit about what type of connector they are, what cable is in there, and how many cables can we fit into a solution?
Yeah. So what we've developed over time is based on the military MIL standard GPPO or SMPM connector. It's a very small push-pull connector which works up to 67 gigahertz. So we've used that as the base, and we have created so-called ganged solutions with it. So we have created something similar as 38999 connector, but very low weight and small in size. And we can incorporate up to 16 channels into one. These are used to go through panels, but we have also developed a similar ganged connector to connect the PCB. So there we work with either one line of 8 or 2 lines of 8 connectors, all SMPM military standard based, but ganged together in a we call it a connector block. Yeah. And each single cable assembly is replaceable. So should there be an issue during installation, not the complete harness has to be exchanged, only a single cable assembly. They're all absolute phase matched, so you don't have to store expensive sets of cables. You can just store coupled spares, and that's what we offer with our complete mini-band cable line. So again, there, if you need high density in one area of your system, and you may have at the same time a highly phase sensitive application, we can support that with our PTFE free cables. And should low loss be of importance because you have very long cables, then our low loss product line could be used with the exact same high density, fully space qualified connector solution.
Okay, so from like an interconnect standpoint, RF microwave, we kind of do it all. Sounds like we have high performance, low loss, lightweight, bend to the end, mechanically superior cable assemblies with no solder. That is a big failure point with traditionally soldered cable assemblies. Unique connectors, self-locking SMP, SMPMT for anti-vibration, high power PSM, power sub miniature, that stands for, correct?
Yep.
All right. So all these solutions combine to this wide portfolio of Hi-Rel products for this R&D for the Hi-Rel market. And we have close to 40 years of heritage, space heritage.
Yeah, 30-year year to date, and as you mentioned, we have a very wide array of cables and connector solutions, and I think that's what makes us unique, and most importantly, we have highly qualified sales personnel, application engineers, and sales reps as you, which can help our customers and guide them through our product portfolio. For us, the most important thing is we want to know with what kind of challenges our customers are dealing during the design-in process, and we're the experts to propose the right connectivity solution for them, for the particular system, meeting lead time and price requirements together with the spaceflight heritage.
And from a customer interfacing standpoint, we get samples in our customers' hands. That's one thing I can vouch for is if someone is entertaining an idea of a particular cable, you guys at cost will go out and develop a cable assembly for them to test in their lab, which has been very helpful to me. Getting products in hand is always helpful to my engineers, and especially when when we show data, it's always best for some of our customers to test it themselves in their own labs. And even speaking of labs, we do test and measurement cable assemblies for their labs as well, with our Sukaflex rotoswage lines and RF fiber links going into thermal vac chambers and did you want to touch on TVAC assemblies as well?
Yeah, we can certainly touch on that. So we call it the complete portfolio on the testing side for our customers. So anywhere from ambient environment in a test lab to TVAC chamber applications to Hi-Rel production test equipment. As you mentioned, we call that from an RF point of view, but we also offer our RF over fiber links, which can be used as example between centralized test lab and different TVAC chambers to really basically remove the insertion loss challenge between the lab and the test chamber. So
yeah, because sometimes their equipment, their test equipment is 150, 200 feet away from the. I mean, sure, you can run a coax cable that long, but the insertion loss is going to be pretty high compared to a fiber optic cable, which is theoretically lossless.
Yes, and there we really make use outside of the chamber to make use of our fiber optic products. What we've really focused over the last 5 years is to improve our test leads. So to improve our test leads from a point of view to offer best possible performance to our customers, meaning mechanically solid products, very flexible, but with the best electrical performance. And the way we've done it is we basically invented a patented technology called rotary swaging. And what we do is basically we cold form a Litz wire, a flexible Litz wire, and turn it into a perfectly round, flexible semiconductor. That way you get the flexibility of a Litz wire with the performance of a solid semiconductor. And that's included in our complete test measurement test line all the way up to 70 gigahertz.
That's great. Yeah. This isn't that Q and V band solutions.
We offer these as armored cables, so internally armored cables, but as well as non-armored cables. So the wide array there, all the way to hermetic feed-throughs to go through the TVAC chamber walls, as example. And even there, we take it a notch further from a power handling point of view. We have developed very high power TNC solutions. They're fully multi-paction free, which can be applied to way higher power levels than a standard TNC. And our belief, which is supported by our customer feedback, is that it's always best if you can use the same characteristic of a cable in TVAC as your flight product at the end of the day. We offer the exact same technology for both space flight and TVAC. So that way you get the same characteristic. There's no difference between what you test in your chamber and what you're going to fly at a later point.
So from a standpoint, from a portfolio standpoint, we have everything. It sounds like for aerospace market.
I'd say pretty much everything what covers the current market trends. Obviously, we're working on our next generation products right now as we speak. It's certainly going into even higher frequencies, and we want to build as well a very cost-effective product line for those cable assemblies, because they're historically extremely expensive when you go into the 50 plus gigahertz range, and we certainly want to support this industry and technology trend with affordable, reliable product.
And you'll be supporting the satellite show, correct?
Yes, I'm personally really very excited to finally getting out of the house again and to meet people face to face. So without joking, I'm really looking forward to be at Satellite. I'm really looking forward to meet new customers, but as well competitors, to see what they have new on their booth, and to feel the pulse of the industry. And I'm really looking forward to attend as well a couple of conference sessions, because it's way too long that we all were away, separated, and only able to talk through Teams and Zoom.
We're going to have demos of our cable assemblies there. Are you going to have an RF or fiber unit there? Well, I think one year we even had a phase invariant cable demo there with the free spray to show how our CT line is superior than just a normal PTFE cable assembly.
We're going to have our high density solutions there as well. So I really invite everyone to stop by and to play around with it, because at the end of the day, you have to get a feeling for how small it is and how pliable the cable harnesses are. So yes, really looking forward to that.
Okay, fantastic, Roman. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to see you guys in about a month or so. And I think we got a great portfolio for the growing aerospace market.
Yes, thank you very much for having me, and hope to see you soon.
Sounds good.